But so asteroids.
Asteroids. But yeah, no, they're a realistic threat. But it's the same reason that disaster movies are really popular, is that idea of like, let's just see what this would be like with them screwing us up real bad. Where are we going, man?
There. Map's just bad. Now, see what you've got Armageddon, you've got Deep Impact. I love that Armageddon and Deep Impact came out in the same year, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, there was this weird, like, maybe year and a half period where all the, like, big budget Roland Emmerich style
asteroid
movies were about asteroids. Yeah. I can't remember, what is The Core about?
The Core!
I haven't watched The Core in ages.
The Core is they're drilling to the center of the Earth to restart it.
That's it. I knew it had to do with geology. There were all these, like, themes that were about... There were all these movies that were about geology.
Well, Daybreaker's from that time period, too, which is an amazing sci-fi movie up until the point where it's not.
Look at that visual, though. Look at that.
That is a very...
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So I think what we're supposed to be getting here, ideally, is the idea that the asteroid is starting to come apart.
Well, it's in the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's in the atmosphere, and it's starting to break apart, which is actually what would be one of the really clear dangers. Is the idea that an asteroid would if it got close enough, even just the debris from it could really, really mess up our way of life.
Well, for us playing along at home and know anything about dinosaurs, that's one of the general accepted ideas of how they went bye-bye, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, mass extinctions are a real serious obsession for, it's interesting, both archaeologists and
sci-fi
and astronomers and astrophysicists.
Those two.
Because that's the thing that makes one of the things that makes space really scary, is that we think of the Earth as in some ways a really inhospitable place. Like, you don't want to go to Death Valley, you don't want to go to Antarctica.
But we have it pretty good by
comparison.
But we have
it really good comparatively.
Our atmosphere is not murder gas.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that is really brilliant about Interstellar, is that it's about the search for a colonizable planet. And that's one of the things that Star Trek really couldn't get right, because they didn't have the technology.
Or really the understanding at that point in some regards.
I mean, they had enough awareness of, like one of the things that Star Trek really does deserve kudos on is that they had amazing technical advisors. And I think I may have said this before, but it bears repeating that the way that... Oh, look at that guy. Aw, that's sad.
Keep talking, I'll keep shooting.
That the technical advisors on Star Trek would basically be told, like, we want to do this. We want to have Scotty have us jump to warp 8 from this position in this orbit. What are the things that prevent him from doing that, based on what we've put together to
based on science,
based on the science that we put together. And so basically, these technical advisors would say, well, you'd have to compensate for the hadron decompensation effect, and so they'd have Scotty have a line and say, I've adjusted the hadron decompensation engine, and you're like, oh, okay.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. And they didn't have to do that, and I think that's what is really clear about the notion between of what's called hard sci-fi and soft sci-fi. And hard sci-fi is sort of heavier on the science. It's very much about... Oh, somebody's attacking Rex.
Yeah, they're not going to live long.
Oh, babes.
I mean, Rex will take care of himself.
Oh, nobody's dead.
Oh, he is. You're right.
Rex.
I'm in danger, but I can do this great thing called... Anyway, Rex is back.
Rex! Oh, Tali's dead. Oh, he yelled for her.
She's gonna stay dead for a little bit. Because she's gonna keep dying. It's a hard sci-fi. I think
Hard
we've talked
sci-fi.
about this some before too.
Yeah, so yeah, because the thing about soft sci-fi is you use sci-fi concepts, but the science doesn't have to be as clear. Hard sci-fi writers tend to get like off on those details. Like Interstellar is a really good example of sort of a weird.
Do you have a preferred form of sci-fi out of curiosity?
I think it depends on your concept because you know, for example, like there was, I think, yeah, the last time we recorded, we hadn't had the new Star Trek trailer yet. So now
Star Wars, you mean? Yeah.
Star Wars, yeah. So now we have the new Star Wars trailer. And everybody was flipping a shit over those lightsabers with the weird laser guards on the side. And people were like, that's not safe, that's not realistic. And it's like, well, you guys know how lasers work, right? Like, the notion of a laser sword doesn't really make sense either.
Nothing about this situation makes sense.
Nothing about this works. And I think that's what's really painfully clear about the notion of hard sci-fi versus soft sci-fi, is that if you want to have people fighting with frickin' laser swords, it's got to be soft sci-fi, and that's okay.
Soft sci-fi is great. I only ask because soft sci-fi is definitely my preferred methodology of sci-fi.
Well, because I think, but one of the things is like I think starting with a really good hard sci-fi concept can be incredible. Whoop.
This is what we saved earlier.
Death and pain.
They don't normally come in like this. Hell yeah, I'm hit. Continue. I'm taking care of
just
myself.
Worried.
I got it. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, I think it depends on what concept you're using and when. Because it is very important to think about whether you want to take a concept like time travel, for example, in Looper, and break a bunch of rules because you're playing with a much broader ideological concept. But for example, like it's really hard to make a hard science time travel movie.
Well, even like the book, the time machine or something?
H.G. Wells' Time Machine? Yes.
That's as close as it gets in some regards to a good time travel hard one.
Well, because the thing about time travel that is sort of difficult that Doctor Who has been trying to deal with for decades now is that paradoxes mean that you shouldn't time travel at all.
Yeah.
So any sort of time travel, you have to, if you talk about the consequences, like your head starts to spin a little bit. Die, human, die.
Barrier. Yeah.
Barrier.
Keep talking. I got this.
So the thing about, like, examples of good hard sci-fi, Star Trek, Interstellar, I would argue, is hard sci-fi because they're very heavy on their technical direction.
Ender's Game and that stuff's hard sci-fi, isn't it?
Ender's Game, I would argue, is more...
Shit. Keep talking, I got us.
I just love the different things that Rex yells.
Yeah. He's good that way.
Rex.
Oh, Tali's back. When the hell did she come back?
She revived?
I don't think she can do that.
Oh. Well, somebody revived her.
I guess Rex may have gotten her.
Because the thing about Ender's Game is that Ender's Game is very realistic from a, like, situational perspective.
Sure.
But the science of how their technology works might be a little bit shakier.
That's fair.
Because it's very much about it's a book that's kind of about computers and about game theory.
Sure.
And the other problem is, like, it's interesting to look at hard sci-fi from an era that's wrong about its own sci-fi. H.G. Wells is interesting in that perspective, but, like, a good example is the first piece of media to use the word robot talks about robots as like clockwork men, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that technology doesn't really ever really get to exist because we jumped to other things before we did that.
Because Clockwork Man was a bad idea.
Yeah. And so it's interesting to look at what's called futurism, which is the idea of predicting where our technology is going to go next. And try and explain and try and justify why we're going where we're going, basically. Because if you look, for example, like you go to Disneyland and you look at the notion of the man... Die, human!
There you are.
You humans.
Hey, dog.
You're almost more trouble than you're worth.
What are you doing?
Let the hostages go, and maybe you'll live long enough to explain yourself to the council.
I don't answer to the council. Or to you. I'm leaving this asteroid. If you try to stop me, I'll detonate these charges, and your helper and her friends are all going to die.
It's not that easy.
I can't just let you go, Balak. Not after what happened here.
This is nothing. You humans have done far worse to the Batarians. We've been forced into exile, forced to survive on what we can scrounge up. It's been like that for decades.
And why blame us?
Why take it out on these people? They didn't do anything to you or the Batarians.
Didn't do anything. Aside from colonizing a world that could have been ours, aside from using resources that should have been ours, we were left to defend ourselves. But the humans were stronger than us. We knew that. The council knew that. But it didn't matter. It was you. You and your kind are the only reason we're in this position.
That doesn't make it right.
How does killing innocent people make up for that?
We had no other options. Sometimes you need to get someone.
That dog agrees.
Yeah.
Listen. That's why we attacked you at Elysium. That's why I'm doing this. You forced our hand.
Interesting viewpoint.
You attacked us first. When we retaliated, you ran off to the council hoping for help. When you didn't get it, you hid. You got no one to blame but yourselves.
Enough! You couldn't possibly understand. Actually, you just don't want to understand, and I'm done wasting my breath. Now, if you want your friends to live, I suggest you step aside.
Attack him or let the hostage or save the hostages.
Let him go to save hostages.
You can go, but this isn't over. I'll find you eventually.
Maybe, but I made sure you won't follow me today. Those charges are still on a timer. Better hurry if you want to save your friends.
Bombs!
Yeah. Let's get the bomb.
Stop the bombs!
So, do we beat hard sci-fi to death yet, or?
I think I've hit everything I can think of for
Sure.
now. But I think that's the interesting thing, is that sometimes the actual restraints of the technology that you're working with in
Yeah.
your script can be more powerful than what can be more interesting and more powerful than what you would think of in soft
Yeah.
sci-fi. Because that's the thing about George Lucas's work in Star Wars, is that it is admittedly groundbreaking, but it's also sort of a very typical...
Well, it's fantasy. I think
Yeah,
my favorite
it's
phrase I've ever heard is that
fantasy.
Star Wars actually isn't sci-fi; it's fantasy with a sci-fi facade.
Exactly. And that's what I mean about sort of very soft sci-fi, is that you actually start to see this stuff break. Disable! Disable! I like that it's like a happy mushroom.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Come on. There we go.
Yay! QuickTime events are fun, you
I
guys.
hate QuickTime events so much. I used to like them. I came full circle on them at one point. Like, they weren't the devil, and then they were.
This reminds me of the overdrives in Final Fantasy X.
Yeah. Then they were acceptable because it made game-breaking moves harder to over spam and stuff like that, aside from not having enough meter for them. But in situations like this, it's like, really? I have to mash out buttons?
Find every bomb.
So it's hard sci-fi though. Oh, Star Wars is fantasy.
So yeah, Star Wars is, it's very much, it's a Greek myth. It uses Joseph Campbell's theory of modern myth very, very strongly. And it's all about the sort of the call to adventure and stuff like that. And sci-fi is, again, it's more like a Western than a myth.
Yeah. Loop it back in with our conversations about...
Always gonna come back to the space Western. Especially in this game. Because it's all about, I'll get you later, Tex.
Yeah.
Bombs! How we didn't notice these before, we don't know.
Oh, they were here, they just couldn't deal with them earlier.
Oh.
Game issues aside, I hate when games are like, oh, we gave you this giant firefight and the explosives were already there. You could have dealt with them.
It was the only option.
Letting him go was better than the alternative. I thought you were gonna stay someplace safe.
There might have been something I could have done to help. I thought I should be here. I know this asteroid better than anyone. You did it. Another hour and our course would have been irreversible. I ran the numbers, Shepard. X-57 would have struck near the capital city, the most densely populated region.
Oh noes. I don't want to close my eyes.
No.
I don't want to fall
No.
Right? Is her team?
Okay. She's fine.
Malik was holding them hostage. I let him go to save them.
Let a terrorist go or sacrifice innocent lives. I'm glad that's not a choice I had to make. Is that... Will you get in trouble for that? I mean, he could do the same thing somewhere else, couldn't he?
He won't get the chance.
The Alliance has a whole navy full of people like me, waiting to take him down. We'll be watching.
Shepard, thank you for my grandchildren's lives. I don't think I'll stick around, though. Not with the team gone. Too many ghosts. It's time for me to get back and spend
Also,
some
I
time
was
with
totally
my
traumatized on this asteroid, you
Yeah,
guys.
too.
for you something. Maybe you'll have more use for it than I will. As lead engineer, I get some quality items. Take your pick. You've earned it.
I know it's a lot to ask, but that Omni tool of yours, I could really use something like that.
Shepard, I think I mentioned that you saved my kids and grandkids. What's an Omni tool compared to that? You take it. My blessing.
And now Tali is kind of a badass.
Woo!
One more thing. You asked me to
Have you
look
found them?
Not yet.
See if you can tap
Take
into
care
it.
of yourself.
Let's get
You
through
will,
that.
Shepard.
Let's actually go rescue the hostages quickly. Because we haven't done that yet.
Rescue hostages.
Yeah.
So do we have to equip something on Tali?
Yes, we do. So the item I just picked up is, I think, one of, if not the most powerful, slightly game-breaking things you can get in this game, especially this early. The Omni tools will let you use your tech powers, and I never need to swap it out for anything else in the rest of the game.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure there's some good armors you can get from that, but we're going to use Tali, which I actually don't generally use in my playthroughs. You go with that. Because it's just stupid and powerful.
Woo!
Yeah.
What if you're a renegade? What's your, because the Omni tool is the Paragon option, right?
No, you can get the Omni tool either way.
Oh, okay. It
So-
was blue though.
Yes, so I think I explained this one, but maybe I didn't go into full details on it. Renegade and Paragon options generally get you the same result, with some variation on that. It's all about how you say it, if that makes any sense. And this game sticks to the idea it's a persuasion system, not a full-blown threat kind of thing. Like, it's all about how you say it. It's the Paragon / Charm is you're being Han Solo.
Yes.
Intimidate / Renegade is you're being Darth Vader.
Nailed
It's
it.
the you will do this, not you should do this. Maybe the game glitched and they're free. That'd be funny. But I'd believe it, given this game. Alright, yeah. We'll get out of here.
Alrighty, team.
Let's get back to the ship, we'll talk to the crew, and then we'll go on to something else. Once I'm ready to get out of here. It was down on the ground, wasn't it? So we beaten the hard sci-fi horse to death, though, and stuff like that?
For now, as far as I can think of.
Because I can't think of a better context to talk about it in the rest of the game. This is kind of the best.
Well, I think one of the interesting tests of, like, what is hard sci-fi versus what is soft sci-fi
Oh, there it is. That's what I was looking for.
Oh, release hostages.
I can't believe you let Balak go to save us. I half expected you to just let us die. Sacrifice the few for the many.
That's not my way.
Then I'd be no better than the Batarians. Besides, Balak won't get away with this. I know who he is now. He can't run forever.
You sound like my brother. He was always so stubborn, but always willing to do the right thing, no matter what.
I wish I could have saved him, too.
It's not your fault. You did what you could. At least Aaron died in a place he loved. He was the one who convinced me to join the team here. Said it would be an adventure. I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but I should see to Aaron.
I won't keep you.
I understand. You've been through enough today. I'll get out of your way.
Thank you. Oh, I don't even know your name.
Commander Shepard.
Shepard. Commander Shepard.
Thank you, Commander Shepard. You're not exactly what I expected, but thank you.
I'll let you go.
I'll get out of your way. So long, Kate.
I appreciate that, Commander. Goodbye.
Gonna go bury my brother.
Pretty much. So yeah, it's this is one of the harder moments of sci-fi in the entire game, for better or worse. That's why I'm harping on this topic as much. There are some cool moments later on that are sci-fi-esque, but nothing quite as nerd-tastic as this mission. In the kind of just hard science, we're going to crash a giant thing into a thing, and that's how this is going to work.
And that's going to be a mass extinction event. It's interesting from a psychological perspective how scary we find the notion of mass extinction, even though it's sort of an inevitability.
Well, at least it's happened once on our planet, and we find the aftermath of it. Like, that's what I think makes it so terrifying. If we'd never found dinosaurs, it would just be a theory.
Oh, no, that's true.